You hear it all the time on your daily commute.
News 4 Jax starts right now with a breaking news alert.
We're following a breaking traffic alert this morning. It will affect commuters on the north side for several hours. A single car crash with injuries on I-295.
January 24th, 2016. Claudia Ayer was working from home when she received the call no wife ever wants to get.
Not much later, the doctor called me that he's in the emergency room and I need to come fast.
She rushed to be by her husband's side, fully expecting to see the worst.
I remember very little from the accident itself. I don't even know the point of impact. I don't remember losing consciousness either. All that was just a blur to me.
It turns out the accident itself was the result of a stroke. Fortunately for Robert, he was rushed to Trauma 1 at UF Health Jacksonville, the region's only Level 1 trauma center prepared to handle cases like his, multiple life-threatening injuries at the same time. But when he first arrived, even doctors didn't realize how serious things were.
The initial imaging, happily, he was hemodynamically stable. So his blood pressure, his heart rate, all of those things were good.
The Trauma 1 team at UF Health Jacksonville is trained to see beyond the surface, and they wisely sent him for more testing.
We unfortunately found a lot of things that could be potentially life-threatening.
The nurse looked at me and she said, you know, we thought first he's okay, but now we are finding all these problems.
He had a tear in the colon, a break of the lumbar spine, and a blood clot in one of the large vessels in his brain. At UF Health, specialists are on site around the clock, ready to save lives when seconds count.
One of the benefits of being at a Level 1 trauma center is that you have immediate availability of a trauma surgeon, of the emergency department, of trauma nursing, of the surgical intensive care unit, and we have within 20 to 30 minutes immediate availability of neurosurgery, of neurointerventional radiology, of interventional radiology, and all of those other services that really work together to save people's lives.
In Robert's case, it was never a matter of how or when, only a matter of what order to address each injury as everyone jumped into action.
Our first priority was to treat the most immediately life-threatening things. And the first and most immediately life-threatening is the injury to the bowel.
And while Dr. Crandall was tackling that threat, another surgeon was focused on another threat, eliminating the blood clot that led to Robert's accident in the first place. 2 difficult procedures to save a life, back to back, just minutes apart. It's what makes UF Health different and special. But even with that expertise, Robert wasn't out of the woods yet. And for Claudia, that meant many anxious moments.
In his case, the brain swelling got progressively worse. And as it gets worse, it becomes a life-threatening problem.
The doctors told me I need to call my family, or his family, to possibly say goodbye. Nobody knew exactly if he can make it or not.
Robert's team kept a steadfast watch over him throughout the weekend.
Because as the brain becomes swollen, the pressure in the brain increases inside the head, and the brain gets damaged, and you can die from it.
Every minute counted. Dr. Arce skillfully performed a decompressive craniotomy, removing a part of the skull and relieving the pressure and giving the brain much needed room for healing. That procedure was a success, but Robert still had one more mountain to climb.
After that eventful weekend, his condition stabilized and we felt it was safe enough to stabilize his spine.
I don't think anybody can prepare you for something that bad.
We as a group try to treat each of our patients like they were a family member. And we try to give them that, that expectation. If it was a family member, what would you have want done? What would they want to know?
Which is information that can be overwhelming. But Claudia says everyone made sure she understood exactly what was happening.
Well, they made me part of their team, how I felt. I had a voice, but I also was able to ask questions and mention my doubts.
The only one who didn't have a voice was Robert. He had a trachea, a windpipe connecting his nose and mouth to his lungs, so he deferred to another way. In the early 90s, Robert and Claudia's love story started with the written word.
Yeah, we basically pen-palled. I'd never wrote anybody in my life before, and pen-pal wrote letters back and forth for years.
A whiteboard and marker became his temporary vocal cords.
Talked the best I could, if I could, but that was very difficult, of course, to do. And Used a whiteboard for communication purposes, just wrote stuff down.
And what felt like a lifetime of silence finally ended a few weeks later when Claudia picked up the phone to a familiar voice.
Hey baby, it's me. Just thought I'd give you a call.
And he said, hey babe, I love you.
Because she hadn't heard my voice in weeks.
And I so started crying. I'm like, oh my God, gonna be okay.
Robert powered through his recovery with the same determination he used to tackle every challenge in life.
I tried to maintain my positivity throughout the whole thing, so there was really, I don't think I ever took any relapses, ever went backwards. It was always forward the whole time, always positive. There was never any doubt in my mind that I wasn't going to get better.
He still maintains some short-term memory loss, but he is walking and driving and doing things most people might see as mundane. Not Robert.
Just every day we've got on this earth, just appreciate that moment the best you can and don't just throw it away.
Now, Robert continues his fight to fully recover. He works out 3 times a week in hopes of passing a physical exam that would allow him to rejoin his Air Force unit. He also wants to raise awareness and become an advocate for men's health. You see, Robert's stroke, the catalyst for everything that followed in that accident, could have been prevented.
He was a healthy guy, very active, and he felt invincible, but he had this little ticking time bomb, which we are well aware of.
Robert was diagnosed with AFib.
And I guess they said I had a problem, which I didn't realize the severity and what the outcome would be. Possibly having a stroke, would be the end result by not following their directions.
Robert hopes by telling his story, he can help someone else, maybe encourage even one person to take the necessary steps to avoid a similar fate.
So listen to your doctors is all I can say. Pay attention to what they tell you and take it seriously. Just don't blow it off.
I cannot thank them enough. As much as I was scared, I was also very trusting to them. They gave me a very good feeling that they're gonna take care of him.
You guys saved my life. Thank you. Incredible group of doctors and nurses and therapists. Everybody that's associated with that hospital is just amazing.
Thank you so much for all your help, saving my husband's life. And we cannot thank you enough, Robert and I, to help us through this very difficult time.